It's the home stretch of the 2025 college football season for Michigan, and fans should be way more excited than they currently are. We're going to tell you why right here on this episode of Locked On Wolverines.
You are Locked On Wolverines, your daily podcast on the Michigan Wolverines, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Happy Monday. We are back and doing it. Locked On Wolverines podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day. I'm your man on the ground, Isaiah Hole, publisher of Wolverines Wire through USA Today Sports Media Group. Thank you so much for making us your first listen. We do appreciate that. And thank you to all of our everydayers out there who check out the show every single day. We're going to get into the why fans need to be a little bit more excited. In my opinion, everything feels very muted at the moment. We'll talk about why that is and why fans should be more excited. And that's going to be segments 1 and 2. Segment 3, Sherrone Moore talked a bit more about his relationship with Nick Saban, how he's been relying on him for advice. I want to get into that a little bit as well. That could be, I don't know, want to say a game changer, because it's obviously he's been talking to him for a while, but it's just interesting to get into. So let's go ahead and start with just the kind of general atmosphere that's surrounding this Michigan team. It's kind of funny. They're 7-2 at the moment, right? It was one loss in the Big Ten. And just kind of based off of it, maybe some of it was having the bye week, and all of that too. It does not feel like we are even really in season at the moment. Like, it doesn't feel like Michigan fans have like any kind of level of excitement. I understand there's not a lot of big names left aside from Ohio State. And, you know, you kind of split on some of those, right? Like, you know, Oklahoma and USC lose those games. I think that maybe it'd be different if you beat particularly Oklahoma. I don't know, maybe the USC game I think that kind of took a lot of air out of the sails in general. And then even though Michigan's won the last 3 games, I mean, I understand it hasn't been like a super inspiring product in the last 2 in particular. So I can understand why there's some consternation for Michigan fans to some degree. But at the same time, for as much as you might not like the way they've looked against Michigan State and Purdue, they are still 7-2. And as much as I kind of gotten a lot of text messages from multiple friends and such who are big Michigan fans that are really concerned about Northwestern and Maryland. And this was going into this last weekend before both of those teams lost. So I think those were built up a little bit in their heads. And I think I think Northwestern at least is a pretty good team. Obviously lost kind of similarly it looked like more of a fight early, but then they lost essentially by, I think, a bigger margin than Michigan did in Los Angeles on Friday night. Maryland's a different story, started out 4-0 and lost the last 5. So they might be a little bit of a different story entirely, but I understand when you don't have the name cachet and how Michigan played against what were thought to be the 2 worst teams on the schedule at this point in the season, the 2 worst defenses and all of that. I would take a little heart. It's kind of like we talked about last week. You've seen this offense do better against harder defenses than what you've seen happen against MSU and Purdue, right? Like, you've seen it. So, like, while it feels like some mid-season regression with the bye week, all of that stuff, I feel like that ends up kind of rendering some of that a little bit moot, hopefully, if everything goes to plan. And that's kind of the thing is Sherrone Moore asked today about, like, last year coming out of the bye week. Remember, the bye week last year was this upcoming weekend a year ago. Can always remember that. My birthday was the Indiana game last year. I didn't go to it. And then bye week this year. So it's with that, it's, you know, they came out of the gates with those 2 games left and were phenomenal, right? The only real blowout victory of the Sherrone Moore era came against Northwestern last year. I shouldn't say of the era because obviously they had the Central Michigan game, but that was Biff Poggi coaching it. But the only blowout victory that he has came against Northwestern, and then they beat Ohio State, and then they beat Alabama. So it's a good time, right? Like, because here's the thing you want to peak at the right time, right? Like you don't want to peak midseason. I know that like, I feel like part of it for Michigan fans outside of the last couple of years. Now I think part of it is the last couple of years, not last year, but generally spoiled 2021 through 23, kind of spoiled at the end of last year, right? Because beating Ohio State, which no one expected, all of a sudden what was a disappointing season ended up becoming fun, also a little bit funny. And then you beat Alabama and it's like, okay, here we go. With that, I think that changed some things, but Michigan oftentimes was peaking. Like I think back to 2018, a season in which everyone had really high expectations, maybe not as much at the outset, but certainly by midseason, the 3-game gauntlet. Once Michigan beat Penn State the way that it had, they didn't play the same for the rest of the year. Right. So that was the middle of the season, like smack dab in the middle of the season. So essentially, Penn State was the first game in November. The other two, Wisconsin, Michigan State, came in October. So there's that. Now, there were times like 2019 where it looked like Michigan was peaking at the end of the season. You got to that Michigan State, Indiana, Ohio State area, and you saw Michigan State went really, really well. Obviously, big blowout victory. You got Indiana the next week, big blowout victory. Ohio State, not so much. Lost. Offense was intermittent, though Shea Patterson was very good. So, like, which one would you rather have? Now, neither, because they didn't beat Ohio State. They didn't contend for anything real in either of those years. But at the same time, like you'd rather be like they kind of were last year, 2021. You're peaking more so at the end of the season. 2023, they peaked in the middle, but it didn't matter. That team was just so good. It didn't really matter. But for a team like this that's young, this is the moment where you're hoping that they can come out and they can start to like, okay, we're about to really do it. We're about to really put on. So I think that this is the moment of the year that you hope that you see with the bye week, being able to take a step back and say, okay, let's reassess things. Let's get healthy. That's the big thing, obviously, for Michigan is to be healthy. That's what you want, is to be in a situation where it's like, okay, they're finally able to take that step, be a little bit more consistent. They haven't put together a full game yet that you're looking at and say, that's the calling card. I mean, Central Michigan notwithstanding, but in the Big Ten, that's the calling card. But I'm going to give you more reasons why you should just be maybe not like rah-rah, but like, okay, I should be caring a little bit more about where this team is at the moment. We're going to continue with that conversation here in just a moment. But before we do, the holiday season is right around the corner, and that means it's time to get your home ready. Whether you need more seating for guests, cozy new linens, or fun serveware for holiday hosting, Wayfair's Black Friday sale is here to help make your space shine. And the best part, you don't have to wait. Wayfair's Black Friday deals are happening all month long with up to 70% off everything from sofas to spatulas. I recently upgraded my bedding and it's incredible. I mean, it's beyond incredible. I can't remember the name of it. Got off of Wayfair. I can't remember the name of it though. It's like the coma inducer, something like that. Unbelievable. Completely transformed my sleep, my comfort in my room. It's incredible. And if you've ever hosted family for the holidays, you know how much difference a few new touches can make. Wayfair makes it that easy. Don't miss out on the early Black Friday deals. Head to wayfair.com now to shop Wayfair's Black Friday sale for up to 70% off. That's WAYFAIR.com. Sale ends December 7th. I get it. Actually, before I even get into the continuing, I want to say congratulations to Ben Pfizer and now Kelsey Pfizer on your nuptials. It was an honor of mine to be invited and go to your wedding and reception. And I am so grateful and thankful and to meet Tony, who's a Locked On Wolverines watcher or listener. I'm not sure which, if you watch or listen, but that was great too. So shout out to you, Tony. But yeah, thank you so much and congratulations. And Ben's an everydayer. So I do appreciate it. I think Kelsey is as well. And I will say one thing. So they're both Michigan fans in Ohio. You would think that the crowd in the reception would respect that, because when the speeches came along, and I wish I would have gotten this on video. I had my camera with me because I can't have fun without working. It's just kind of who I am. It's either it's complete sloth, or I have to be productive while having fun in order to have fun. Make that make sense. But I didn't get this on video, but every time like one of the speeches mentioned that both Ben and Kelsey are Michigan fans, you had the smattering of Go Blues and cheers, but an even louder, because this was all in the state of Ohio, OHIO. And it's like, guys, read the room. Like, not your party. Settle down. It's the Michigan People's Party. Like, I digress. I'm not gonna go down that road. But anyway, all right. I get it when it comes to why everyone feels on edge. Now, I know my podcast, my show, the last 2 weeks probably hasn't echoed that. It's not that I don't get it. I just don't agree with it. The people that have the consternation. And with that, I think that, yeah, it makes sense why you watched the Purdue game. I watched the Purdue game too. I was there. I was on the sidelines. Did it go well offensively? Absolutely not. It went very poorly. But we know that they're better than that. Number one. I think, though, I get how not well put together the team has looked. I get how it's been intermittent in a lot of ways. But here's the good thing. The record doesn't reflect that. You've got one loss in the Big Ten to USC. That other loss, it counts for the overall, for the college football playoff, yes. But it doesn't count in the conference, right? Like, Michigan can still find its way in Indianapolis. I'm not really sure the road to get there, right? It was like beating Ohio State head to head, I think would theoretically make it enough, but maybe not, because they have a better overall record. They would need some help. But nonetheless, it puts you in a good situation. And even with the two losses, right? Your losses are to two ranked teams right now. You can find your way in, especially like you win out. They should be in regardless. But especially with like the ACC cannibalizing itself. To some degree, the SEC is cannibalizing itself. The Big Ten absolutely is cannibalizing itself. All of those things work in Michigan's favor to some degree. So I think, though, a two-loss, like if any given year, I understand like 2018 is a year that I mentioned. They were 10-2 that year, but the loss was to Ohio State, one of them, right? Notre Dame, Ohio State, bookends. But a 10-2 season in which Michigan beats Ohio State, that's a pretty good season, generally. And now that the college football playoff's a thing, I think that's, when I say the college football playoffs, that they expanded college football playoffs a thing, that second loss doesn't really matter as much as it should. And that sucks, right? Like, I preferred the old way. I preferred the 4-team playoff. And, I was thinking about this, not to digress too much. I was thinking about this on the way to and from Ann Arbor, one way or the other. I don't remember. Not the whole time. But one of the things that was kind of cool about college football, in a way, while there was like not really a true champion, there was like the BCS national champion, or like, whoever was voted upon as national champion by the AP or the coaches poll, whatever it might have been. I think that like it was better the way it was before. Even when it was the 4-team playoff, where it's like, yeah, you got your champion, but just like the bowl games meant something. Like last year's bowl game for Michigan meant something because of the opponent it beat, ReliaQuest Bowl champ, all that. It's kind of weird when you're like, yeah, ReliaQuest Bowl. I think more people would want it to, I don't know, remember what it was before the Outback Bowl. It was the same bowl game. I don't remember what it was called anymore. All of that is out of memory, but like, to be like a Citrus Bowl champ meant something, right? Like, yeah, okay, we had a little bit of a disappointing season. We didn't get to go to the Rose Bowl. We didn't get to, we didn't get to be national champions, but we won the Orange Bowl. We won the not Rose Bowl, but like the Citrus Bowl. We beat these guys. We did that. And each and every one had its own like little championship, right? Like it didn't require all this, but now it's not that. And every team's going to end essentially that is in like actual contention is going to end in a loss except for the main one. And that's going to mean any New Year's Six game, right? Like you can be a Rose Bowl champion and a Cotton Bowl loser, right? Like all of the luster's taken out of it. And I feel like that's made this less exciting in some ways because now there's two goals or three. If you combine the first and second being the beating each of the rivals, and then there's the playoff, right? So like, I was talking to Josiah about this, and he was saying like, yeah, I'm kind of at this wake me up when we get to the postseason, whatever that means. And that's what college basketball is, and that's a shame. But I think that like everything's in play for this Michigan team. And I understand, like you watch some of these games and say, well, they're not going to contend for much looking the way that they do right now. And that was true then. Michigan's been very young. It's been very unhealthy. You get some of those guys back. Hopefully, it sounds like it from what Sherrone Moore was talking about. And you just get some cohesive games together, right? The good news for Michigan is it's still a complimentary football team, right? The defense can still squeeze the life out of you if the offense is struggling. Now, there was one game where that didn't happen. There was another game where it didn't happen as well as you hoped it could have. And I think that now the defense is playing a heck of a lot better than it was before. So that part of the football has come along. But on the other side, they're still working out some things. But it's not like a wholly bad scenario because you've got pieces that are working. And it's not like outside of a couple receivers whose names we all know. Like it isn't like a situation like when you look at like the pass protection where it's like there's one guy and he just keeps on giving it up and they really need to replace that one guy. No, it's little lapses across the line, which you would rather have in some ways, like when you are in this situation, than like one dude that is just terrible and they don't have someone else that's better than him. So you just kind of have to live and ride with it. So I think that they're in a decent spot. Does that mean they're going to contend for things? No, but they are in it. And I think it would be a failure, absolutely, if they lose either to Northwestern or to Maryland. They could, right? Like anyone who thinks they could, they absolutely could. I don't think they will. And you go into that Ohio State game with everything on the table, which is what you want. So there you go. All right, let's talk about Sherrone Moore talking about his relationship with Nick Saban. I just think that's really interesting. So we're going to get to that here in just a moment. But before we do, the NBA is back, and there's no better place to get in on the action than FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Even if you missed the start of the game or you want to ride the hot hand, FanDuel has live bets from everything from who will score to fourth quarter comebacks. Plus, you can even combine your live bets into a same-game parlay for a shot at a bigger payout. It keeps every game exciting, especially when your team's making that late push. So right now, FanDuel is giving new customers $300 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. So head to FanDuel.com to sign up and play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. All right, this isn't new news per se that Sherrone Moore talks to Nick Saban. He revealed this back last year in, what was it? It was like May or June, maybe, whatever SMSB was in 2024. I talked to Nick Saban and what have you. But we learned a little bit more about that relationship, and it really is something of a mentorship. I mean, it's not like a everyday type of thing. It's not even an every month type of thing. He says he talks to him once every month or two today. But he said that Biff Poggi hooked that up, that he made that happen. He said Saban at first was really annoyed by the offensive game plan that Sherrone had in the Rose Bowl. He said he got over it. And I think that this is good news for Michigan, though. I'll tell you why. It's because I think like the thought all along has been that Sherrone's just trying to be a Jim Harbaugh clone. And I can tell you, Jim Harbaugh and Nick Saban, I wouldn't say they're diametrically opposed, but they're not friends. I don't think they'll ever be friends. But so for Sherrone to have another guy like that to lean on, and as he said, like he calls and asks some questions, and he said something like about like how to travel, different coaching situations. You wonder if like the how to travel, if that came out of hopefully that came out after the USC game and not before. And it's like, hey, yeah, we didn't travel well. We didn't do good the way we did it. That was we did what kind of the Jim Harbaugh thing. I mean, they practiced over at the Bolt, so I'm assuming that did have something to do with it. But I think that can pay some dividends if that relationship continues. Because obviously, like Ryan Day's got Urban Meyer, and granted, that hasn't worked out well for him in the Michigan-Ohio State rivalry, but as Sherrone's trying to get some things figured out here offensively, trying to get Bryce Underwood going, trying to continue to raise the stakes of the defense, all of that stuff, to be able to have someone like Nick Saban that he can lean on, who he can call and ask questions of, I think that's actually pretty crucial. As Sherrone says, like, to be able to talk to the GOAT. Let's read the actual quote, because I think it's just very interesting. He says, oh man, using my site instead of the thing, and of course I get an ad there. I try to call him probably every 2 months. When you call Coach Saban, sometimes it's like you don't know if he really wants to talk to you, but he does. Like once he starts talking, it's outstanding. And I mean, why not take advice from somebody you consider probably the GOAT in college football? I gotta fix that there. But said just getting different advice, different things. We were talking about travel, but also just talking about in general as a football program, things that he looked at, things he tried to change or not change and tried to adjust throughout the year. So I'd be a fool to not seek the advice of somebody like Nick Saban if I could. I think he's spot on. I think that's accurate. Just says essentially that as much as he could, he tried to get as much information from him as possible, and that's really where the connections are. So I mean, I think that's a good thing, and I think that to bring it back biblically, the wise seek counsel, right? Like it's foolish to not seek counsel. A variety. I'm putting myself on the spot so that I forget the exact verse. It's out of Proverbs, but like. Whenever I have issues, I try not to just rely on my own ego and seek out others. I'm not trying to say like, oh, Sherrone, good, you're like me. No, but like sometimes like someone who's ego driven is just going to look at it and be like, I'll figure it out. I'm me. They Jamie Tart it. Me. Right. And I think that it's good for Sherrone to look at it as a scenario of, I know that I can do better. And yeah, I could call up Jim Harbaugh, or I could also call up Nick Saban, and he's got other mentors out there as well. But I think that's a huge thing. Charlie Strong obviously is one of them. And who was the other one that's the big mentor of his? Can't remember offhand. Oh, Bob Stoops. Duh. But just to be able to have that variety of counsel, I think is huge for him. And to be able to have the GOAT on speed dial, I think is huge. As he joked, it doesn't necessarily mean he's going to help out with if they have to play Alabama, but nonetheless, I think that it's a great place for him to be, because one of the things that I've been concerned about is that he was relying too much on everything Jim Harbaugh's way, Jim Harbaugh's tutelage, Jim Harbaugh's systems, all of that type of stuff. So the fact that he's going outside of that ecosystem and looking to other things, I think that that's actually a real sign of growth, progress, even if it's been happening since the beginning. But just hearing that he's still doing that when he could just be essentially leaning on his own understanding, I think that it's a good thing to hear that he's he's seeking outside counsel from people who really know how to do it and do it at the highest level. I think that's huge. So that's that. All right, that's our Monday show. We're going to be back on Tuesday. We'll bring back the mailbag. Then we will do everything as we usually do. We will do the Jack Tuttle, the Connor Stallions, and then we'll probably double up on Thursday with a preview show because I will be traveling on Friday. Still not really sure how I'm getting to Chicago. I have a flight. Y'all know I don't like to fly. And I did that on purpose, but now I'm second guessing it because I'm like, well, I got to fly to Maryland next week. So maybe I just drive to Chicago. I don't know. I'm still trying to figure that out. Anyway, you don't need to hear about it. I'll figure that out on my own. Anyway, thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. We'll talk to you again soon. Peace.